So just what are the documents you would need to get your study visa for Canada approved? So as per the IRCC portal, when you file your study visa application, the documents are actually broken down into 9 sections. Now what are the 9 sections? Your transcript proof, your letter of acceptance, your IELTS results, your GIC certificate, the official letter from the school in case if you have a co-op, the letter stating that you have a co-op, your passport, your upfront medicals, your proof of funds, and any additional documents. Let's talk about some data from the IRCC website. Now, as per their website, between Jan 1st, 2019 and December 31st, 2021, if we actually break down the approval rates that are from India, in 2019, the approval rates in India was 64%. In 2020, it came down to 48%. In 2021, it went up to 60%. Now, as per the last data from February 28, 2022, the approval rates for a study visa from India was down to 56%. So before we talk about what are the documents needed for a study permit, let's talk about the Student Direct Stream or the SDS. Now, this video is targeted especially for students that are from India. So under the Student Direct Stream, what are the conditions that we first have to meet? So the first condition is that you must be living in India at the time of application. You must have a letter of acceptance from a designated learning institute. You should have paid your first year tuition fee upfront in advance. You must have a GIC certificate for 10,000 Canadian dollars. You must have completed your medical exams. You must have a police clearance certificate. And last but not the least, on your IELTS score, you would need to score at least a 6 band on each of the parameters. That means on reading, writing, listening, and speaking, on each one you at least need to have a 6. If you have anything less than a 6, then you do not fall under the Student Direct Stream, and most likely your study visa will be rejected. So speaking of rejections, let's talk about the top 10 reasons as to why your study visa could be rejected. So if you have a long gap in your academic qualification, say if you finished your last qualification, say your bachelor's in 2010, currently we are in 2022. So if you're applying for a study permit in 2022, there is a likelihood that your study permit may be rejected because there is a 12-year gap. Another reason as to why your study permit can be rejected is in the past you may have applied for a visit visa to Canada or maybe another study permit and that was rejected. So in that case, there is a good chance again that your study permit may be rejected if you don't prove your case. Third reason is if you have already submitted an express entry profile, that is you have an express entry profile in the pool that is active, in that case also your study permit may be rejected. In case you want to bring your spouse or your kids along with you to Canada on a study visa, there is a good chance your visa may be rejected because in that case you cannot prove roots to your home country. In case if you have a sibling or family members who are already in Canada, in that case there is a chance that your study permit may be rejected. Another reason as to why your study visa could be rejected is because you had low scores. So maybe in your bachelor's you may have got aggregate of 55% overall and you had low scores in certain subjects, and the course that you're choosing, those subjects form a key component. So in that case, the visa officer may have grounds to reject your study visa. Another reason is low English scores. As I said earlier in this video that you need to score a 6 in each of the parameters. Now 6 is just a bare minimum. So what I would say is you at least need to score a 6.5 to 7 in each of the parameters to ensure that at least your study visa is not getting rejected due to your language score. Another reason is there is no logical connection between your past studies or the job you're currently doing and the course you intend to do in Canada. If there is no logical reason, there is no progression, there is a good chance that the visa officer may refuse your study visa. Another common reason for a study visa rejection is misrepresentation. And last but not the least is that you must be able to show that you have sufficient funds. So you're on proving sufficient funds for your study visa in Canada. I want to elaborate a bit. Now, a common misconception is that in case if you have paid your tuition fees in advance, your 1-year fees in advance, and you have your GIC certificate for 10,000 Canadian dollars, In that case, you prove to the visa officer that you have sufficient funds. But this is actually a mistake, because if you actually go onto the IRCC website, they actually state what are the funds you need to show in your bank account besides your GIC certificate and besides the upfront fees you're going to pay to your college. So let's take a look here and see what the IRCC website actually states for proof of funds. So on the page, since you're applying from India, you can ignore the first point. The second point is you need to have a GIC certificate like we discussed for 10,000 Canadian dollars. In case you have an education loan, you can prove that you have an education loan by providing your bank documents. You need to show your bank statement for the last 4 months. So this is an important point as to why IRCC is asking you, or why the visa officer wants to see your bank statement the last 4 months. We're going to come back to this point in a bit. You need to show proof that you've paid your tuition and your housing fees. Again, you have proof you have already paid your tuition fees, your 1-year tuition fees in advance. But what about your housing fees? So the IRCC website further goes on to state that in case if you're a single individual coming from India to Canada on a study visa, in that case you need to have a minimum, and I stress on the word minimum, 10,000 Canadian dollars. Now this is an additional to your GIC certificate and additional to your fees that you've paid to your college. That's your 1-year advanced tuition fees you've paid in Canada. So moving on, in case you are going to Canada along with your spouse, in that case, the website states that the total amount of fees you have to show on your account, remember your 4 months bank statement which you have to produce to IRCC, in that case the amount goes to 14,000 Canadian dollars. In case you're a family of a husband, wife and a child, in that case the total amount would be 10,000 plus 4,000 plus 3,000. So that becomes 17,000 Canadian dollars is what you have to show in your account. Now again, this is only the minimum amount that you have to show. I would recommend you at least have maybe 4,000 to 5,000 CAD more than the recommended amount in your bank account. So for a study visa, preparing a statement of purpose is one of the most important documents. This document will decide if your study visa is approved or declined. So your study permit will explain what is your proposed study and how is that study relevant to your past studies in India or to your career in India. And more importantly, how will that benefit you when you come back to India? Another important point that you have to highlight in your statement of purpose is your home ties. What is the reason that upon completion of your studies in Canada, you're going to come back to your home country? In the past, we found that the proper documents were not filed while applying for a study permit, due to which the visa officer was not convinced that upon completion of studies, the person would actually return back to India, because of which the application was declined. So as per the IRCC portal, when you file your study visa application, the documents are actually broken down into 9 sections. Now, what are the 9 sections? Your transcript proof, your letter of acceptance, your IELTS results, your GIC certificate, the official letter from the school in case if you have a co-op, the letter stating that you have a co-op, your passport, your upfront medicals, your proof of funds, and any additional document. Of course, we're going to talk of each of the section in detail and what documents do you need to file in each section. So what I recommend in each section, when you're uploading your documents, you need to join the documents together because you cannot upload more than 1 document in each section. So maybe you want to use some kind of an online tool, or you can use Adobe Acrobat, or you can use Nitro, whatever PDF software is out there. Now currently, since you're from India and currently India has a 60% visa rejection rate, what I recommend is you always file some more documents compared to what a person would have filed from another country. So for proof of transcripts, the first document you need to have is your 10th passing certificate. Again, not your mark sheet, your passing certificate. The next document is your 12th passing certificate. After that, the next document you need to file is your mark sheets for your bachelor's certificate, followed by a copy of your transcripts from your university. Next, a copy of your passing certificate or your provisional certificate you received from your university. And last but not the least, your degree certificate or your convocation certificate. So in case you have completed your bachelor's and after your bachelor's you've also done your master's, in that case for your master's you'll also file the documents in the same order. So the way it goes is you first have the mark sheets for your bachelor's, followed by a copy of the transcripts. your provisional certificate for your bachelor's, and then the degree certificate for your bachelor's. Next, you will have your mark sheet for your master's, your transcripts for your master's, your provisional certificate for your master's, followed by the degree certificate for your master's. So overall, your 10th, your 12th, your bachelor's, and if you've done your master's, all these documents we've discussed needs to be compiled in one PDF document and uploaded in the proof of transcript section. The next document you need to file is your letter of acceptance. This is a document you would receive from your college or your university that you have been accepted in their institution. Now, this is a pretty straightforward document. So once you receive this document has to be filed in the letter of acceptance section. After that, you have to submit a copy of your IELTS results. Remember, on your IELTS results, you need to score a band 6 on each parameter. The results could be either academic or general. Yes, the rule has recently changed. So for a study visa, you no longer need to file only an academic results. If you have a general result and it is valid, that is, it is within the 2-year period, has not expired, that document can be filed. In case if you have a co-op, then an official letter from your school stating that you have a co-op, and that letter needs to be uploaded in the official letter from the school section. The next document you need to upload is a copy of your passport. The next document is a pretty straightforward document. It's your upfront medical. So when you complete your medicals, either that day or the next day, you would receive a receipt from the medical hospital. All you have to do is upload the document in the section that states proof of upfront medical exam. So the next section is the proof of funds section, and of course this is a very important section and my favorite. So what are the documents you need to prove your funds for your study visa in Canada? You first begin with showing a copy of your bank statement. I would recommend at least a bank statement for the last 6 months to 1 year is what you need to upload. The next document would be the invoice from your college, from the designated learning institute against which you'll be making the payment. So a copy of the invoice from your college can be put over here. Next would be the SWIFT copy from your bank. So after you make a transfer from your bank to your college, the next day the bank would usually give you a SWIFT copy. So that can be attached here. After that, in case you're using a service like Flywire to send your college your payment, a copy of the receipt from Flywire can also be attached here. Now, once the college has received your payment, a receipt from the college or a letter from the college stating that they have received your payment, that document can be attached here. In case you have taken a loan, in that case, a bank sanction letter or a disbursement letter can be attached here. If you've taken money from your parents for your education in Canada, in that case, you need to sign a gift deed stating that the money is given to you for your studies in Canada and you do not need to return the money back to your parents. Another important document would be a financial declaration from your parents stating that in case of an emergency where you don't have access to any funds in Canada while you're over there, they would be able to provide financial support. Now, along with the declaration, you can also submit a copy of their bank statements and a copy of their passport. So in case if you're filing income tax returns, in that case, you can show income tax returns for the last 2 years. Now, if you do not file returns and you have just passed out of college and now moving to study in Canada, in that case, what I can recommend is you can show a CA net worth certificate. Again, all these documents have to be combined into one document. And yes, one point that I forgot to mention is every PDF document that you combine, the size should not exceed more than 2 MB in the new portal. In the old portal, you can upload documents up to 4 MB. In this portal, the maximum size is 2 MB. So make sure the document size in total doesn't exceed more than 2 MB. So the last section is your additional document section. In this section, the first document you have to attach is your statement of purpose. The next document would be your family information form or IMM 5645E. After which, in case if you have or had any rejections in the past, maybe a visit visa or a study permit that may have been rejected, you can attach a copy of the rejection letter here. Next, attach a copy of your birth certificate. That's a pretty important document and many students often miss out this. So I would recommend attaching a copy of your birth certificate. Now, when you're attaching your copy of your birth certificate, make sure the birth certificate is not handwritten. The birth certificate has to be a computerized printout. So in case if you have a relative who's living in Canada and they're inviting you to live with them while you're studying in Canada, in that case you would have to first attach an invitation letter from the relative. Next, you have to attach a copy of their passport, their birth certificate, their 6 months bank statement, their notice of assessment, proof of employment that they're currently working, and their 6 months pay stubs or salary certificates, and finally a copy of their utility bill. So in case if you're currently employed, in that case you would also need to submit a copy of your reference letter. So your reference letter must not be more than 2 months old. Along with your reference letter, you also have to submit your salary slips for the last 3 months. Now, what are the components that should be in your reference letter? Your reference letter must indicate your occupation, your job description, your position in the organization, the salary you currently make in the company, if any allowances, and last but not the least, the number of years you're working in the company. The next document you need to upload is a copy of your police clearance certificate, which I highly recommend. If you're married, a copy of your marriage certificate, and a copy of your vaccination records that are linked to your passport. So in case if you have any queries, you can leave a comment in the comment section below. And if you'd like to get in touch with me, you can click on the link I have left in the description. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.